off a driver's license for him on the internet. I mean, it was a fake driver's license, obviously, but here's this little 4-year-old face just. So anyway, I don't know. So yeah, I shouldn't just keep talking about that. But you guys are great. You guys are good and responsible, and it's all good. All right, hi, everybody. Today we are continuing with our discussion of Excel. And what I'd like to mention to you today is that we have worked through chapter 1, and the exercises in chapter 1 will be due Friday of this week. Some of you have already turned them in, but that's so water under the bridge. But basically, when you work through the problems in chapter 1, they will talk about some engineering concepts that you may not have been introduced to. They are explained in the textbook to the level that you'll need to do the Excel problems. But if you have any questions or problems, I hope you will ask me about them. The other thing is today is Wednesday, October 8th, and Friday, October 10th, Monday, October 13th is our fall break. So we will not have class, Northwest College will not have class Friday or Monday. So Friday will not affect us, but next Monday we won't have lecture or lab. So the next time we'll meet for lecture will be a week from today. But you will have assignments rolling. So what I hope to do is to take a look at chapter 2, and we can at least get started with chapter 2 so that you'll have some ideas about how to proceed with your homework. So let's see if I can get, I guess I could just do this online, but I wonder if it would be easier to do the document cam. Hang on. We're going to find out in just a moment here. No, it's not going to let me do a doc cam here, not with the owl thing up. Okay, that's all right. So I'm going to come back over here and I'm going to find our textbook for chapter 2. All right. There we are. And I'll rotate this before I put it up on the screen so that we can see it. Okay. All right, so if you look at your screen, you should see the first page of our chapter 2, which is creating an Excel worksheet. So chapter 2, we sort of get into the mechanics a little bit about how to effectively work with and save worksheets and Excel files in general. One of the features of Excel is that you are able to create tabs. If you look along the bottom of this example spreadsheet, and I'll show you what it looks like in real life, you'll see sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3, and then a plus sign. So if you're working on related projects, but you don't want to make a humongous sheet and you want to just have documents that are attached to each other that will automatically come up, you can just create more sheets within the Excel book. So basically, whatever you create down here is called a worksheet, and whatever you have it stored in, the overall arching one is called a book. So the toolbar or the ribbons are very helpful and can help you with getting to everything that you need to know. So once again, chapter 2 just talks a little bit about how to access all of this stuff. And it talks about the things that you will most likely be using. Anytime that you get lost in an Excel book or sheet, if you come over here and you make sure that the tab open is either home or file, you'll have almost everything that you need to navigate through that particular situation. It's also important to note one big deal that is different between Excel and like Google Sheets is Google Sheets saves automatically and Excel does not. So you have to save it. You can use this save button, or you can go to the file button, and there will be a drop down. You can save or save as. And I always like to do save as. The first time that you do a save, it will come up and ask you for the title and the location that you want to save your document or your Excel spreadsheet to. But I always like to make sure that I save things as with very strongly indicative titles. So in other words, I never save things as book one or a date or something like that. I always save Excel files with long and drawn out explanatory names so that when I have 55 spreadsheets, I'll know exactly which one that I'm talking about. The other thing is that if you look at some of these, like for example, on the formula tab, and I'll show you a little bit more about this later. But with the formula tab, there are different types of formulas. Like it will come up, if you touch the formula button, it will come up with some formulas that are commonly used. But as you use them more and more, you may find that you're using statistical functions or analytic functions or something more often. So you can program those so that those will be on your quick access ribbons as well. All right, so basically, we talked about this, that we have cells, and cells are comprised of a column with a row, and the name of the cell then is displayed right here. So the cell that's active right now, which means you see a darker bar around it, that's where if you start putting some input into the input bar at the top, that's where it's going to go. But it's designated by the column and the row. So this is cell A1. This cell down here, although it's not highlighted, would be cell D9 or 10, depending on what that looks like right now. All right, so as you go through chapter 2, the other thing it talks about is the help. There's help categories, and you can always type in, if you don't know how to do something, you can come over here to the help feature, which is a question mark, usually on the top ribbon, and type in whatever you have as you can just enter whatever it is you have as a question, and Excel will help you. Okay, so like I said, because Excel does not automatically save, you need to make sure when you leave Excel that you save the document, or if you've made changes and you want to save a previous incarnation and also the latest incarnation, you want to save them under 2 different names because the changes will not be saved automatically. All right, so when we continue with that, it just talks about some locations. The other thing I'd just like to point out is the locations of the different tabs, I hope, is not going to be a barrier to you. The buttons and tabs and functions will sort of start to acclimate themselves to your usage. So on our system, it's not going to necessarily look exactly like this, but everything is there. If Excel is fully functioning. There is something called a data pack that I have to check. We'll be talking about that later on. It's higher level statistical functions and some other features that Excel doesn't generally have. If we have them, I'll make sure that they're available to you through computer services. If we don't, then we'll just have to work around it, which is always a possibility because there's 5 different ways to do everything. Okay, so we talk about, you know, the mouse, the arrow keys, the page up, the page down. So you can use all of the basic functions that you use in any word processing and most apps they have the same functionality in Excel that they do elsewhere. So this just steps you through that process. Okay, so then we start talking about entering data. We've talked about the idea that there are numbers and that there is also text, and Excel will make assumptions about the data that you put in. If you have a number, it will assume it's a number. If you really want that number to be text, you have to specify it, and you can do that by using quotes, single quotes, double quotes, and it will format the data to either the left or the right, depending on what sort of a quote you use. And the best way to do that is just to put it in through trial and error. Just try it a couple of different ways and see what it does, but I'll give you some examples in a minute. Okay, we talked a little bit about formatting last time, and Ricardo, you had asked some really good questions, and so we talked about some of this stuff, which I appreciate a lot. But numbers will automatically default to just a number. So if you want it to be a percent or a currency or something like that, you can change the format. Now, it's important to note, if you do it, for example, with currency, it will give you dollar signs. But that dollar sign is not registered as a symbol, it's just a number that will print out, that'll just display with the dollar sign. If you put the dollar sign in it and then a number, it will think that it's not a number, it will think it's a string or a letter, a text cell. So you don't want to physically put the dollar sign in, you want to put the number in and then format it as a currency entry. All right, so that just shows you some of the things. Ours doesn't look exactly like that, but that's kind of what it looks like. So we talk about strings, we talk about different kinds. This is more or less what our formatting tab looks like when you pull it down. General, and you can always specify, it will let you specify the number of decimal places with a general number, currency, or if you want it to be a date or a time. This is quite, the date and the time is actually more useful than I would think it would be. So I'm going to pull up a spreadsheet and show you how a date works and why I find them to be kind of useful.
Do you have any recommendations concerning whether we use the browser version or the desktop version? I'd say you have more cells visible in the desktop version.
Yes.
Because the first half of your screen is your browser tabs, and then that shows all of the ribbons on the top of Excel down.
You're seeing more of your tech stack with the browser version. I generally, and the reason I pause when you ask that, it's an excellent question, Jace. I tend to use the desktop version just because that's how I came up, and so that's more familiar to me. And I feel like the web version is a little more cluttered. So I guess my advice would probably be to use the desktop version. The other one is it doesn't default to saving it to a drive. You can choose where you want to save it, which is also, and I'm not recommending this, I'm just telling you this is the way I do it, is I like to save things in different file folders on my H drive, and then I give those file folders explanatory names. You know, like for example, this is easy, but I have a folder called Fall 2025, and I also have a folder called Fall 2024, and so forth. And I keep my syllabi, and I keep any documents that I'm giving you guys, whether they're documents or spreadsheets or whatever, in that folder, so that if somebody asks me, what was the syllabus like for ES 1060 in the spring of 2017, I can find it instantly because I know where it's going to be. So I guess I'm going to say that pretty clearly. I like the desktop version better than the web browser version. So good question. All right, so this is kind of why I love dates. Let me just show you this. So if I format these cells, so I'm going to just paint them, right, by holding down my cursor, and then I'm going to right click and come up with a format, and I'm going to do these dates, and it gives me different formats. I can print out the name of the day of the week with the date and the year, for example. And then if you just want the day and the month or the whatever, you can print out any of these formats, and you can see there's a whole bunch more formats as well. So there's a whole bunch. So I'm going to go with this one just because I want to show you something. Okay, so what that means is if I type in a date here, let's just say, what is today? It's 10/8/2025. Okay, do you see what it displays for me? Isn't that cool? Now here's the other part. Let's say that I want this one to be net tomorrow. I can just say equals A2, that cell, +1, and look what happens. Isn't that the coolest ever? And then if I copy those, I get all of them. And some of them are too big. So whenever you get this hashtag series, you can just come over here and expand the column a little bit and it will do that. So I love this, like we were talking about, and I will post that amortization table, but like with an amortization table, you can just say +30, or plus a month, right? And then you get a string, you get like January, I would put it in a month format, right? And then I would just add another month every single time.
How would you say plus 1 month?
Yeah, let's find out.
They're not all 30 days.
Right, so let's see if we can figure that one out, right? Let's format. Let me do this. Let's see if I had to do any adjustments on that. So I would format the cells, and this time I want a date. Only this time, I just want. I don't want the date at all. I don't want the day. I just want. Let's see. Huh. Let's do another one. Hang on just a second. Let's come up here to the help bar.
Is that M12 dates now?
I'm not sure. See, I think this just tells me
It's using
Monday.
14th of March 2012 as an example for all of these.
So let's see if this is just that, right? So let's go 3, or let's go 10. 25, 2025. Let's see what that does.
October 20.
All right, so then let's see if I do a +1, right? So C equals C2, yes, +1. It's still October of 25. So let's say if I go +30, +31, see? So we do have a problem there. There we go. Okay, so, yep. So let's figure something out. Let me see if I can go to help. This is always in the way. Let me stop the share and see what I come up with. Search. How do I? Let's just do this. Consecutive months. Let's see if it goes, if it'll do anything for me there. No, all right, that's just my find bar. Where is my help? Help. Create a list of sequential date, month function. What's that? The month function describes a formula syntax. Let's see about that. Let's see what this will do. Equals month. And then let's say 1. Okay, no, it's not. Let's see if I format that differently. Let's see if we can figure this out. 1/1900. All right, so let's do this. From 1900, from 1/1/1900, what month is October 2025? Okay, so we're gonna just have to go back and mess with it a little bit. All right, so let's see. I'm gonna guess there's 12 months in a year. And since 1900, we have had 125 years, and multiply that by 12. Let's see what month we come up with. Let's go 1500. All right. Let's see what month we have. Oh, you're not even. No, that's not gonna do what we want. The serial number is required, the date of the month you are trying to find. Oh, 2008, 5/23. All right, so let's do this. 2025. 10. Let's see if it'll do that. There are too many arguments.
So I found something called the eDate function.
Okay, just a second, I wanna hear it, I just wanna take a look here. Okay, tell me about it.
I'm still reading. But it is a function that is supposed to be able to subtract, add or subtract the number of days to a date.
Oh, hang on just a second, here it is, this is just a serial number is what it wants, so. It's days after, so let's see, it's still gonna come up with 30, let's do 40,000 and see where we end up. Okay. Yeah, it's not working. All right, it's not doing what I want it to do. It is working, but it's not doing what you want. So what is the function?
Date.
E-date.
So you might be able to try something like equals E date.
Yes. Syntax, start date and months. For example, January 15th, E-date, result 4 months after. Oh, okay, let's see if we can do something with this. Let's get rid of you. And let's say equals E-date. And then start date, which is 8 October 2025, 1. What is that going to give?
So that's in quotes, the 15 January, but I'm seeing here that you can also write it as in the slash format.
Okay, let's try that.
So it actually might just be that the E-date function requires quotes around it.
Right, let's try that also. Okay, so that gives it, see, now we're getting somewhere, so let's do this. And then that should give me October, there we go. So then how can I add +1 to that? Can I do that? Let's go ahead and copy this down to here, and then let's just see if this will take +1. I don't think it will. Do you see what I'm saying? I'm trying to think of how to get that argument into that.
It could be +1 here, or it could be +1 outside.
Right, that's what I'm wondering. So let's try that. No, sorry. And then we're gonna quit this and let everybody go, because I said it would be that time. Let's see if we can do that.
What if you set it equal to C2 + 1?
That's what I was thinking. Let's try that.
C is an E-date argument.
Yeah, see, it's just, yeah, we can mess with that though, so.
I didn't know that question was gonna be so complicated.
I know, but that's fun, you know, I know there's a way to do it, and we're gonna figure it out, because I have done it in the past, but how it's gonna work in this version of Excel, we don't know. So anyway, work through chapter 2, I will post the stuff for chapter 2 on our Moodle page. And even though we don't have class on Monday or lab on Monday, we'll have another set due next Friday, so, but we'll talk about it Wednesday when we come back, how does that sound? All right, so good luck with midterm week, you guys, and we will, I'll solve this problem and let you know what it is, and then we will, move forward from there. Have a great fall break. I hope y'all get to do something fun, and, we'll see you next week. Or I'll be here. If you need me this week, I'll be here. Oh, okay, so I should probably say I'll be here today and tomorrow until noon. I have to drive to Laramie tomorrow afternoon. So if you need me tomorrow afternoon, I'll just be available through email and texting. So tomorrow, I'm going down to Laramie because on Friday I have an advocacy board meeting with University of Wyoming. And I also have an articulation meeting, but I can't be at both places at once, so I'm just gonna kind of see what happens. But I'll be at one of those places in Laramie, so. All right, everybody, have a great break.